What is your name?
Fabrice.
Fabrice, I'm Hillary. I'm the owner of Our New York.
Oh, nice, nice. You have a business card? You don't
have a business. I'll tell you what I am.
Yeah.
I am a person-to-person person. So let me have your name and number, and I'm happy to contact you, or I'll give you mine.
Yeah.
Let's do it that way, because I really like the person-to-person. I'm originally an ICU nurse.
Yeah.
And it's
Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, all backstage right now. I mean, if you can imagine the security, I've never seen on the road, he's done deals with everybody, but I've never seen him get so excited as he is.
And I think that
Guys, thank you so much for being here. Steve, I know that, I know you're a little busy. You might have to go to India tonight. I hope not. But, you know, I wanted to...
Yes, I did. Okay. Charlie, I need you to come to the White House to meet the president. We're going to arrange that. And the second shout out is to my stepdaughter, Finley the Winley. So it wasn't an answer to your question. We have a really good team. Alex is terrific. I mean, he's as smart as a whip, and he's been doing just an incredible job for our company. And Scott Alper, also a partner and our president, has been with me for, I think, longer than 25 years, and he's outstanding. So we have a great team. So when I took the job, I knew I was going to divest. I knew I was going to have to leave the business, and it wasn't a hard call for me because I think the business is in good hands.
But how was it? How was that sort of introducing that idea to your partner, Scott Alper?
I think everybody knew that they were capable. Alex is really capable. I have another son who's super capable. Scott's been right by my side since the day that he joined us, and I think everybody embraced the fact that we would be able to grow the company and continue its success, and so we have.
Alex, for you being called to do this, did you have any other passions, by the way? Did you want to go into real estate development? Maybe you wanted to be an actor or something. I mean,
no acting because of my talent.
So you also wanted to be a real estate developer.
Yes. No. Unfortunately, acting or drama wasn't in my blood.
Well, so, for you to, as you were called up to lead the team at Good Golf Group, did you feel the need to sort of prove yourself to the team that was there and to sort of to gain their respect?
Well, a few things. First off, my dad did an incredible job. Obviously, for 30 years, he led a very successful business, and I think that's part of the reason why President Trump was so eager to have him serve as the U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East. He would have announced yesterday he wanted people who were smart and had incredible negotiating prowess, and that's what he had. So the platform, which he successfully led for 30 years, was in a very strong position, and we built a very strong team of people that led us in a great position to lead this next generation so he can go on to serve.
These are very...
patriarchs of a family. It happened in the Trump family. It happened in a dear friend of mine, Stanley Chira, who may he rest in peace, and his family. It happens in the LaFrac family. It happens with the Kushners. And I think if you have capable children, it's important to know when to step away and when to give them their opportunity. And
in all fairness, some of those families that you mentioned, the handoff didn't go exactly as planned. It wasn't always as easy as for them to come in and take over successfully. It's
look. You can only try, but I think in our case, I mean, we've pivoted to Florida. We've got a big long call on Florida. we do plenty in New York, Amir, but I think we've made some really good calls, and I think there's really been no hiccups. I'd love to tell you that I meant all the difference in the world there, but evidently I haven't. So that's okay. What I'm doing now is is worthy, and it's important, and we're having, on behalf of President Trump, we're having some real success in the world in resolving disputes and bringing people home who didn't think they were going to get home, and I think that feels like a really very important part of my life, if not the most important part.
You know, after September 11th, you said something similar. You know, you were
for one of our children. She's got a boyfriend who she wants to marry, who's stuck as a hostage with Hamas. But that gives my life meaning to be there. I think I have some degree of empathy because I lost a child, and so many of these people can relate to me because we talk the same language about the loss. And that feels more consequential than the real estate business, which is not to say that when we were doing real estate that we were doing things that were inconsequential. I'd like to think we did good work, and we were good solid owners out there. But now it's time for me not to do that anymore.
You know, the XI, the One High Line, that was not a project that you had. That was a project that they brought you in on. The Steinway Tower.
Months before even the Republican convention happened, and it was a good idea at the time. That's how we were thinking about it. It had nothing to do with, now there's been a surge, and I think there's been a surge in the world of crypto because it does well for all of those people who are unbanked or have been debanked. And think of huge inflation in some Latin American countries. There have been some bad actors in the past, but I think we're going to, it's an asset class that will be here for a long time. That said, I do have nothing to do with it. So the president's notion, and we take our cue from the president. His notion is that we're there to do good things on behalf of the American public. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to, I've never felt conflicted in any decision that I make. I mean, policy, that we help to change the world, we help to reset it, we help to bring sanity back to our country. We needed it, and here we are in a better way. Because a man by the name of Donald J. Trump asked me to do it. And he is a dear friend. And I really am grateful for that friendship. I really am. And so part of what I get to hang out with him. I mean, it's really pretty cool. I pinch myself. So so much, or I would say 95% of it has to do with that. So I do not aspire for political office, nor do I aspire to run for any kind of federal office, nor do I aspire to be a member of any other presidential administration but the Trump administration. And I'm never walking back from those comments.
Steve, Alex, thank you guys so much for being here. This was great. Thank you.
Work, just the work that I put in to get to where I'm at. Thankful for anybody, it's my father. Because my dad told me, the less you get hit, the longer you last. And I take that to real estate also. So that's what I truly want.
So Jonah, and this is widely known, we're in New York, he pleaded guilty in a high-profile NYPD bribery case back in 2016.
Yes.
He later became a key cooperating witness in 2 federal investigations, one into NYPD corruption. And your friendship predates that period. How did his conviction affect your relationship?
Well, I want to let the people know that my dad, who I spoke about also, went to prison for 5 years. And that's the person that I love dearly. So I'm not perfect, so I'm not here to judge anyone. We all live, we all learn, we all make mistakes. There's no one that's perfect. Jonah is my friend. He's a person that I love. He's a person that I will stand behind through the good, the bad, and the ugly. Whatever his case was, he dealt with it like a man, and we're going to continue to do business. We're going to continue to stand together and be strong. And he's one of the key pieces to the puzzle in today's time that's dealing with Potter properties.
I want to dial in on this a little bit more. So Jonah is also facing multiple lawsuits related to
Being able to do what you want to do. If that's bankrupt, then I'm pretty sure everybody going to live like that.
Okay, so I think we'll end with this one. When I spoke to you all last week, you were riding around Miami, you were looking to buy even more.
Yes.
Have you bought anything in the week since we last spoke?
I don't know. I was out in Miami for a while. We were looking at a few properties. I'm pretty sure before the end of the year, I'm gonna buy some more real estate. But like I said before,
I'm sure the media will pick up on it eventually.
talk to the people.
No, certainly, you don't want to talk about deals that are not fully consummated, so we are working on a few interesting deals, and at the right time, I'm sure Business Insider will be all over it.
Can you tell us what asset classes? Just give us a little something.
We're looking in the multifamily and hospitality.
Okay. How much more would you be willing to invest in real estate in 2025?
As much as Floyd is willing to do.
Floyd?
I really don't know. I'm very, very content. I'm very, very happy with my life. Every day that I'm happy because my youngest son,
You know, it's funny when you hear that New York is the greatest city on the globe. I always remind people when I sit down with my colleagues, mayors from across the entire country, they sit in a room and they debate about who's number 2, who's number 3, then they look over at me and they smile because they realize there's no place like New York. New York will always be number 1. And my motto is there's 2 types of Americans, those who live in New York and those who wish they could. And everyone that's here, you're one of the lucky ones. But the Real Deal Conference, Amir and what he has done, how he has taken the entire publication of this magazine, these forums, these workshops, has really allowed us to be laser focused on development of all kinds, something that I supported in Brooklyn as the county executive. I coined the phrase build, baby, build, and I will continue to say that is what's in place and how to make sure buildings happen in the city. People did not want to have risk, did not want to engage in any fight, did not want to support real smart progressive building. In other words, it meant no change. It meant standing focused and still without any movement. That was not who I am. That is not why you elected me. You elected me to get shit done, and I came into office to do just that. And that's what we did. We got it done. So what do we have to do? We have to meet the next generation of the housing crisis with historical, ambitious moves forward. Like these, and this one is possible because of work like ours. Because of developers and businesses, because of local leaders who are willing to fight for them. They are what makes this the most pro-housing administration in history. 395 Flatbush is a critical piece of our efforts to get the people homes they need. And you know why we're doing it? because I made my decision when I was borough president and then became the mayor. I'm here to support my developers and not fight with my developers. We need you. This is a symbiotic relationship, and government needs to get the hell out of your way and allow you to build.
A matter of right.
Reviewed them, and you always want to have a big number. Honestly, like it's sort of like, can you outdo the last person? But the devil's in the details, and the question is, can you actually clear the red tape to allow developers to do what they need to do? One of the single biggest interesting elements of this race to me is there's this primary, the Democratic primary. How many of you all are registered Democrats? Raise your hands. You might not even want to admit it in this room, I'm not even sure. So you all know that the Democratic primary, 9 times out of 10, is going to determine who the next mayor is. And when I was running for mayor 4 years ago, people would come up to me on the street and say, "Yang, like, hey, I'm with you, I can't wait to vote for you." And then I would say to them, "Are you a registered Democrat?" And they, just like 85% of you, would be like, "No, I'm not." And then say, "Well, then you're not going to be able to vote for me in this Democratic primary because you need to be a registered Democrat in February of this year to vote in this June primary." So any of you who are thinking, "Hey, I'm going to register for this primary," it's too late already. So you have like a slice of the electorate deciding who the next mayor is going to be. And one of the most interesting elements of this time is that the current mayor, Eric Adams, has already thrown in his Democratic membership card and said, "I'm running as an independent." He thinks that that's the path. So you're going to have the Democratic nominee, you're going to have the Republican nominee, you're going to have Eric Adams, and then you might even have an independent like Jim Walden, and then maybe one other candidate on the Working Families Party. So there are going to be 5 candidates that you can think of in the general election. And the bet that Eric Adams is making is that there's actually a better path for him there than there's going to be in the Democratic primary.
You know, that's interesting, and I would point out that Andrew Cuomo will also have an independent line in November. And you know, we have ranked choice voting. So if Cuomo and Eric Adams are both on the ballot, they're going to share, I think, some votes, and maybe that opens up the door for someone else. I don't know.
Yeah, you could have someone win the
From September to June. So what that does is it gets only the truly committed out to vote, and that tends to shift left. However, Andrew Cuomo is a known commodity. Secretary of HUD, so he actually knows housing, knows real estate. He's been governor of the state for 3 terms, and he's a known commodity. And he's polling at 40%. He's not dropping. And so the question is, does he move? The Mamdani, he is appealing to the segment, as we talked about, that feels that New York has left them behind, and that the government has failed them, and they're looking to have a change. He offers a change. However, there are other candidates that are fighting for that mantle of change.
Tripled or quadrupled since 2019, and have just stayed there. And it's made it so that the business is not profitable or barely profitable. I mean, like, people who are in those situations, I think, are going to end up wanting a strong...
Wants New York back. So he is going to put a lot of effort into this. And he is going to help Adams have an unlimited war chest if that happens. And also, his eye is on the statewide race where the governor is almost a dead woman walking. And so you're going to have a very competitive race here. So this is a 2-step process here, but I think we got to get ready for the general election. And I think Adams' pay dirt is if Mamdani ends up being the Democratic nominee, then everybody who's a capitalist flows to Adams, and then he would get reelected. That's the scenario that I see him winning that race, and I don't see that scenario happening.
I don't know, Donald Trump is probably the single most unpopular figure in New York City, and if I'm a consultant...
Kathy Hochul's less popular. In the city, statewide.
Okay, city.
So Don, I've been assuming that the Republicans nominate someone else, like probably Curtis Lewa, who's been a nominee, I think, a couple times in a row. It would surprise me if Eric Adams was the Republican nominee on both sides. But if that happens, that'd be fascinating. I'd be surprised by it.
Well, I don't think we know Curtis can't win, and we know who the head of the Republican Party is. It's Donald Trump. He's the president of the United States. The president of the United States wants you to get out of the primary, and he's the president of the United States and the head of your party. You're getting out. He's getting out, most likely the Republican nominee. It makes no sense to have made a deal with Trump and not get that.
Right, that may happen, but if he runs as Trump's candidate, I don't think he has any chance, so we disagree on that. I want to ask you about labor, organized labor, which we haven't talked about at all, but they're a big factor when it comes to real estate and politics in New York City. So what is your opinion of the role that organized labor, such as construction unions, the hotel trades workers, 32 beach issues at you know, the wage floor for 485X was from the construction unions. That's why no one's building 100 units or more. Why is no one building hotels? Because you need a special permit now. Thank you, hotel trades workers, Bill de Blasio. So, what is your view of how the unions are? Are they really a big negative right now or am I exaggerating that for real estate?
And by the way, as I said, de Blasio ran the city in the ground. I mean, we need hotel rooms. We need jobs. The biggest problem of housing in New York is
I watched the film. You know that I don't punch down, and so that's the reason why I agreed to do this, because Leonard, I've basically known this name since I got into the industry, and I admire and respect you, and I don't totally agree with your opinion on this. I would not be here if your name wasn't attached to it. So that's number one. Two, I'm only an advocate for my show and my behavior. I'm not here to defend everyone on every reality show that's ever.
And you have to inject that.
Yeah, right, but there are TV shows about servers at restaurants. That's not that dramatic either. But Vanderpump Rules was like.
I actually think many would argue with you. I think real estate being such a visual focused industry, I think there are plenty of egos. You don't think that feeds well into reality TV? I mean, we also just see interpersonal drama. Who's gonna, just keep it to the work or keep it to the industry?
Appear more sexualized than men. We have more sexual sort of components to our body and our existence. That does exist, right? So like us wanting to look good might involve showcasing the shape of our body. Whereas men all sort of black tie events, like you all wear the same thing. You all look, there's nothing sort of unique or identifying or sexual in nature. But
I think you made a very important point there.
Right.
You specifically said this is not the way you dress in real life. So you chose
I do dress like this in real life. I just don't dress like this
to entertain.
in a show way, right? So go out, I dress however I want. I've earned it at this point. I've established myself for my business and everything else first. So
yeah,
sure.
I want to talk more about. Okay, I don't expect anyone on the stage to come up with a cultural explanation for Jersey Shore or why we are where we are with TLC. But in the realm of real estate, reality TV, that is, Eleonora, I think Selling Sunset caught the most heat for talking about how women dressed and presented themselves on TV, along with things like showing asking prices, commission.
I want to be an agent. It's nice to see that people want to be in sales or can take pride in sort of transactional real estate.
Well, I think my issue is that looking at soap operas of the past and assuming this is a new version of a soap opera, I think opening up the bathroom door is fine, but once you open up the toilet door, there's no other door to open. And I think sometimes it's just too much. But worse than that, I think of all the female agents that I work with and have worked over the last 25 years, I just feel badly for them that those coming into the industry might think that looking and acting and dressing a certain way is the only way to succeed.
But those people don't succeed. And by the way, it is true to the industry.
They do succeed. I will tell you. I think reality TV has made star agents out of agents who might have otherwise been rather mediocre.
Did that not set you up if you're willing to take that gamble that maybe you could take more for success? And if you're facing the downsides of reality TV,
I can assure you that even in 3 months, if they're not actually going to show up to team meetings, work, take on listings, do the work, it will not pay off in real estate. It might pay off in another career, but it won't pay off in real estate. And by the way, these issues come up on the show. spending money.
It was a really tough time for the industry. I think there was more eyes than ever on how real estate brokers make their money. Nationally, brokerages took a hit with a landmark settlement as part of NAR's class action lawsuits. In New York, rental broker fees were outlawed. And, you know, a couple times in the show, I think you even cite revenue laws when, you know, a broker is suggested to approach something. What was it like ramping up to put yourself on this platform in probably the toughest year yet for the industry, when more people than ever have questions of what brokers are doing to earn their money?
I was excited. I didn't think about it in that sense at all. I'm good at what I do. I feel very prepared. I mean, you know, I'm good at what I do. I like it. It's an arena that I feel comfortable in. I think that I deserve to be here. This show wasn't accidental. This was many years of fighting for it and fighting for it to be the way that I wanted it to be, and not making compromises, not being on another show, not being on, you know, dating shows, not moving to the production company I wanted. It was the network I wanted. So I was ready. I also, you know, take a lot of pride being from New York. I was happy to represent the city, not just like as a real estate agent who loves their job, but as a native New Yorker. And yeah, and I was excited. I certainly wasn't thinking.
I think just devil's advocate, if people are looking from the outside in, let's say, not even New Yorkers, did you consider that at all, that there was kind of this is an aspirational slice of life, that would kind of land wrongly with anybody?
I'm a consumer of reality television. I believe that what makes reality TV successful is when you focus on a subsect of sort of society, whether it's, you know, cultural or career-driven. I think that's what makes these shows fun and different. No.
And yours wasn't the only.
Fun. Yeah.
And yours wasn't the only to come out last year. We talked to Ryan Serhant this morning, who also had a Netflix show premiere, of course, last year. Just also with all this carnage happening in the.
Every agent has a different brand, and I respect the fact that people do things differently. What I do, Eleanor will do, and vice versa, and I completely respect that. My brand personally will not cross a certain line. One, because I'm sure if I took a picture of myself coming out of the shower with a towel wrapped around me, I would lose clients, number one, and number two, people might get violently ill.
I hear on that note, Leonard.
You're not doing that on the list. You're allowed to be a person too.
I'm allowed to be a person too, but I come from an old world, maybe because I'm older, where I close the bathroom door when I go to the toilet. I'm sorry, it's just too
I get it, but right, so that's exactly making my point. No one posts on social media when they're on the toilet. But when they look good,
show a lot.
But when they look good and they want a thirst trap, they will.
I know.
It's the same thing.
I also think with filters, who knows what reality is. I think we've recently seen a lifestyle in real estate broadcast of the world that a lot of people thought was the dream lifestyle that has now ended up in jail.
I think we'd be remiss, for those who might have missed it, in March 2012, Leonard himself was in the pilot of $1 Million Listing New York. So I'm hearing a lot about your principles and your standards now. I want to hear a little bit more about that.
I think Leonard was on the originals, was on Selling New York. That's why we couldn't name the show Selling New York.
You've since said that it was all fake, and you took on Michael Lorber as a possible broker to help you out on a downtown loft, asking nearly $4 million. In 2017, you kind of came clean. Can you tell us about that experience, and does that still haunt you?
But you did lower your standards.
I did lower my standards, and I would be the first to admit it, and that's why I'm a chief evangelist. I'm here to forgive everyone, including myself. I did the first episode of $1 Million Listing, and I really did not want to do it, but there was someone on the show who was the owner of our company, and I was very, very much encouraged to participate, and